I go past the historic events on the Korean Peninsula just a few hours ago to start with. After an impromptu invitation, Donald Trump visited the demilitarised zone, met Kim Jong-un and stepped across the borderline into North Korea. The American president in an unprecedented, if brief, visit to the Hermit Kingdom. Let's just have a look at this unfolding.
Step forward. You will be the first US president to cross the border.
One small step for the US president, but is it a giant leap forward for peace and denuclearisation on the peninsula? It's way too early to tell, and to be sure, little's been achieved so far. But Trump has taken the heat out of this flashpoint, and he's delivered North Korean pauses in missile testing and nuclear development. And he and Kim held confidential discussions on the back of today's catch-up, and Trump announced a new round of talks for officials to proceed quickly. Amazing stuff, completely unorthodox stuff, unorthodox diplomacy from Trump. We'll have more on all that later in the bulletin. But for now, let's move on to other issues today. And I want to show you something that I highlighted on the Kenny report last week, which I don't think has actually received enough attention. There's been a lot of grandstanding on the Israel-Folau issue, with activists, commentators and politicians looking to parade their virtue or draw attention to their own hobby horses, rather than just focusing on the principle at hand. But surprisingly, out of the blue, the former president of the Human Rights Commission, Professor Gillian Triggs, talked a lot of sense on this. She understands that from an ethical, legal and social point of view, the efforts of Rugby Australia and others to silence and bully Israel Folau are completely over the top.
My own view, and it is a purely personal view, is that he should be entitled to put his view. As I say, it's a very wide view. It encompasses a lot of us. We're all going to go to hell. I think that it's really foolish and disproportionate to prevent him from preaching something that I think he probably believes quite deeply as a matter of religious expression.
Now, you might think that would be enough when she speaks, when Professor Gillian Triggs says, let it go. It ought to be a clear signal to the virtue signalling corporates and the attention seekers of the Liberal left that they've gone too far. Triggs is Australia's unofficial patron saint of virtue signalling, and when she says you've gone too far, it's got to be obvious, doesn't it? But according to some of the ranting, the last thing that Folau deserves is an apology.
You pressed send. What happened? We've been engulfed by 2 months of this nonsense, this disaster, millions of dollars being bled from rugby, sponsors for the exit, members turning away, and you think rugby owes you an apology. In the words of the late Peter Falingos, that'll do me.
I don't think that red bandana helps his argument, does it? I guess this debate has got a long way to run. But let me just highlight the hypocrisy from the left on these issues. They want to shut down Folau because of his Christian religious beliefs, but these same people tend to bend over backwards to indulge other faiths, such as Islam or Indigenous spirituality. And the latest example has been revealed through more lunacy at the science department, would you believe, of one of our universities. Reporting in The Australian, Bernard Lane has revealed that lecturers have been warned off making the statement in class that Aboriginal people have been in Australia for 40,000 years. This apparently puts a limit on the occupation of Australia, and many Indigenous people see this as inappropriate, according to the University of New South Wales advice. The uni says it's more appropriate to say Aborigines have been here since the beginning of the dreaming, because this reflects the beliefs of many Indigenous Australians that they have always been in Australia from the beginning of time and came from the land. So there you go. Even at our universities, in a science department, Indigenous spirituality is preferred over the facts, over science, over reality. This is plainly nuts. So we have spirituality or religion elevated over reality at university while it gets you sacked from the Wallabies. Makes you wonder what would have happened if Folau had cited an Indigenous teaching against homosexuality.